Hi, my name is Kamana and welcome to Holistic Nomads TV, where ancient wisdom and modern science can help you to have more clarity and energy in your life. And today we're going to be looking at answering your personal questions. So we'll get straight into it with a question from Anonymous. Anonymous has asked, is it true that gentle birthing is better for the mother and the baby? So this is a really important question. I did a lot of study on birthing at one point. I really thought I was going to be a natural birth facilitator, and I've coached a lot of women through becoming more fertile, right through the pregnancy process, and also how to really create a healthy baby in those earlier periods of life as well. So I know a lot about this subject, and this really depends on the nature of the hospital and how they're going to deliver the birth procedure. Yes, a natural birth with as minimal intervention as possible is the ideal for all babies. Yet some hospitals are able to do that in quite a natural, minimal intervention way. So it really depends on the way in which the doctors and the hospital are guiding that process. So I'll look at a few things to be aware of when it comes to the hospital process. So the first one is what's known as the oxytocin drip. Oxytocin is a hormone that's naturally made by the body, and on top of cramping, facilitating muscular contraction, which allows the baby process to deliver and become quicker, it also has an effect inside the brain. It creates a pain-killing effect so that the pain of birth is not felt as strongly, and it also creates an empathy effect. And this empathy effect, when we have a natural birth, creates a strong connection to the baby. And it gives this feeling of like, I want to serve you more than myself. And this is really important because in the first part of having a baby, we as a mother, not we, you mothers, go through a process of creating a connection and having to sacrifice many areas of life to serve this new being. And if we don't get that big oxytocin buzz right at the beginning, then many mothers can go into what's called postpartum depression, feelings of depressive thoughts in those earlier parts of the baby's life, where they're having to sacrifice a lot of things and they're not getting that full empathy connection that would happen with a natural oxytocin birth. And the reason that they're not is because in a hospital, they will use a synthetic type of oxytocin to stimulate a faster birth. And this depends on the hospital. They will inject this oxytocin into the blood, and this oxytocin doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. So we don't get the same brain effects, and we don't get the same pain-killing effects that go on. We just get the contraction effects and the quickening process of the birth. So that can be challenging, and I'm not saying don't ever take the oxytocin drip. There's definitely times in a hospital where that could be beneficial. I'm just saying to minimal intervention as possible. And because many doctors want to speed up the birth process and have a quick birth, not spending as much time with the birth, it's a very likely thing that happens in a hospital compared to a home birth or a natural birth where you're able to really just relax into it and take as much time as you need. One of the second benefits to having a natural birth is when they cut the umbilical cord. This is the cord that goes between the baby's belly button and the placenta of the mother. It's where it's receiving most of its nourishment and its nutrient is through this cord. And it's a common procedure within hospitals and many birthing things to cut that cord straight away. Yet an ideal gentle birthing, natural birthing process would wait for a period of time after the birth before they cut the cord. And studies have shown that cords that are cut earlier have a higher reduction in the baby's weight than the cords that are cut later. It's full of stem cells and juicy nutrients. So at minimum, wait until the placenta stops beating, but some practices called lotus birth keep the placenta connected for a period of 24 hours, and it just naturally falls off. We don't really need to cut it in any way, and the umbilical cord will naturally fall away from the baby. The third point I'd like to talk about is the comfortableness of the mother. The more comfortable the mother is, the less stress response hormones she's producing, the easier the birth happens. They've done lots of studies on this to show where contractions are getting closer together when the mother is at home, and then they go, oh, yep, it's definitely time for the baby to be delivered, we're going to the hospital, and during the drive to the hospital, the contractions get further apart, and sometimes the birth process even stops then. So here, where we create a comfortable atmosphere, we generally create an easier birth process. Often the hospital is a foreign environment, there's lots of bright lights, sometimes the procedure that's going on and the level of trust is not as strong compared to if you've spent months with a doula and a home birth midwife, somewhere where you're creating trust, you have family and other people around that are creating trust. So my sister's birth is an example of this. My younger sister was a home water birth that they did, and just the level of trust that was there when her partner would put his hands on her and just she would start to go into easier contractions. Anytime there was a fear response that would come up or trying to check if the baby's healthy, it can start to create a little bit more challenge for the baby. So what's comfortable for you? If you know that you're the stressful type that's like, oh, I don't know, at home I'm going to be in so much stress, or my family is not going to create the right environment, then maybe the hospital is best for you. So gentle birthing, what's gentle to you? Now, although I've talked about 3 things of why there could be benefits towards a gentle birth and a home birth, there's so many other benefits I haven't touched on here. I'm trying to keep it short and potent. Yet within that context, we really need to look at emergency situations. Hospitals can be great for emergency situations, and emergency situations can arise within a birth process. So I wouldn't suggest somewhere out in the far reaches of the forest that's away from a hospital. Think of a nice natural birthing situation where you still have close proximity to the resources you need if an emergency arises, and that hospital knows that you're doing the process in a close proximity to them. It will be ideal if the laws permit that in your location. If you're really interested to know more about natural birthing, there's a great place in Bali here called Bumi Sehat, and we'll give a link to Bumi Sehat below so that you can have some access to resources, and they also facilitate natural births in their center here in Bali, Ubud. I hope you share these videos with the world, as I think education is one of the most important tools to help everyone. Awareness is the key to change. If you have a question on anything related to health and healing, I'd be more than happy to help you and answer those questions. You can submit the questions on holisticnomads.com/ask. And be sure to subscribe on the link below so that we can notify you when your question is answered. This is the cord between the belly button of the baby and the uterus and the placenta. Get it together right now.